Hey, so today I will be doing the compatibility with other types for type 8. Particularly interested in the type 5 and type 8. There's also the misidentification, which type 5 I would like to know. I am still a little sick, you can tell by my voice, but I am getting better. So I am also like back to having a good modicum of energy that kind of allow me. I still have my chair here by my side in case I need to sit down or something. But yeah, let's do this. So the first one, I'm gonna go in. Should I go? I was gonna go in numerical order, but like maybe I should go with like the types that are like the closest to mine. No, let's go with numerical. When it's misidentification, I'll do it like that, so we can have a good notion. So yeah, Enneagram Type 1, the performer, with Enneagram Type 8, the challenger. Type 1 and I think Type 9, Type 2, like they are the ones that I am like the least aligned with. I'm pretty sure that like two of them, I'm even like below the 50% alignment with, which I think is 47 is the one that I got the lowest. So what each type brings to the relationship. Enneagram 1s and 8s bring a common concern with fighting for truth and justice in their world. They both often feel, although in different ways and for different reasons, that it's up to them to stand against whatever they perceive as injustice and falseness. Both can see themselves as gallant crusaders protecting the weak, righting wrongs, and making the world a better place. In a relationship, these two types are both action-oriented, and if their attention and energy is turned towards social causes in particular, they can have a big effect on their family and their community, perhaps even their country or the world. Both bring a certain nobility of vision and a focused purpose, practicality and perseverance in supporting whatever they believe is right. Both are willing to sacrifice a great deal to do what they believe needs to be done. For both, fairness is certainly essentially important. One brings a sense of absolute and ideal truth and justice, whereas they bring a more practical and immediate approach to these concepts. Close parentheses. So what I'm getting from here is that if I were to get somebody who is a type 1, I would probably, be a little less selfish in, the way that I approach things. Because as they're saying here, they're both kind of concerned, because I am concerned with fairness, although I have mentioned before that I stopped fighting a while ago because it was not really good for my head, but still I care about these things, and maybe if I had like the right person beside me, I could, go back to, I guess, like fighting for truth and justice, as they're saying here. I will say that this is something that is very important to me, but like, is it the most important? I think this is the moment where, being a type 5, like, is actually maybe, a little closer. Because, fairness, as I said, and the whole thing of, yeah, I guess, like, protecting the weak, righting wrongs, and making the world a better place is something that, like, I think I have, been more interested in the past. There was a certain gallantry to that vision of myself and of the world, and I think I have become disillusioned with this, but maybe, like the right person would reignite that sense, within me. I'll go back to, wanting to fight, because lately fighting has just felt like very pointless. It doesn't feel like I'm achieving anything, it doesn't feel like I am getting anything done. It just feels like I'm overloading myself with effort and I'm getting nothing in return. Not that I want something for me particularly, I mean the context of like fairness. Like, I don't think I'm achieving more fairness than when I started. I don't think my presence has been having that effect, But anyways, the combination can be very powerful. They accomplish things with a clear-cut sense of purpose and personal mission. Both are decisive and direct, although 8 will bring a passion and gusto to their counterbalances the one's self-restraint and propriety. One's combine 8's exciting physical and earthy, all the things that they restrain themselves. It's just because they're not using the right thing, like using a dash. It shouldn't be a dash, it should be a longer one. Thus, there can be a strong attraction from both sides. Further, it's recognized that ones are strong-willed and determined as they are, and they cannot easily sway well over ones. This is something that it gets me thinking, like, would it be counterproductive for us to have two people who are strong-willed in a relationship? Because on one hand, I'm just thinking about myself. I don't particularly want to be in a relationship right now, but like if I were, thinking about hypothetically, like maybe you just kind of pushing each other forward more than like you should, push. Hold up. they're not asking. They're pushing each other forward, maybe when one should be pushing each other back. Like, I mean, maybe a dynamic in which one person pushes forward and the other pushes back. You kind of like have more balance than one where both are just like moving forward. Although to be fair, like I also feel like I would like somebody who's moving forward with me, not somebody who's like I feel like is holding me back. Even the person isn't actually holding me back, I still think that this is a feeling that I will have about the whole thing. So maybe this is interesting. This is an interesting dynamic. Anyways, eights thus admire their conviction and are attracted to the challenge of getting closer to ones. In many ways, the two types are opposites. Once again, this is a dash. It shouldn't be, not dash is this, right? Yeah, anyways. The pirate and the school teacher, although both could learn a great deal from the other, and if they're willing to listen to someone with such different values, reactions, and ways of doing things. Now we have potential trouble spots or issues. What breaks one's innate up is often the very thing that attracted them in the first place, how different they are from each other, like fire and ice. This is a relatively rare romantic pairing. It is easier for them to be friends or colleagues than to live intimately together. Both want to be in charge, both want to accomplish something significant, but they tend to disagree about the means to take. Yeah, that is an interesting one. I kind of like, I really feel the need to be in charge, to feel comfortable in the situations I'm in. So if you had two people wanting to be in charge, that would probably make me uncomfortable and not as likely as somebody else taking the backseat. Even when I think about, potential possibilities of people I'm with, I don't, yeah, I do kind of like envision myself being kind of in charge, not the only person making decisions or whatever, but kind of like taking the lead. That's how I kind of like things. So I've always liked things, even when my exterior may have lacked in this. I don't know, maybe when it seems that I was kind of like more, because I can be very reserved, but even then, like I do want to be the one pushing forward, I guess. Okay, both want to be in charge, both want to accomplish something significant, but they tend to disagree about the means to take. That's an interesting one as well. Because like I think it's probably going to be more like the majors fight at the end, and ones are probably not going to be like that. And I guess I have more majors fight. I'm not like a fully the majors fight yet. No, the edges fight the means. Yeah, the edges fight the means. Yeah, I'm saying it wrong. But like I think I can be more forgiving about certain things than other people. So there's that. That could lead to some grading. Ones that should be self-control and restrained in their self-expressions and methods of doing things. They will deny themselves the pleasure of acting on their real desires and impulses if they are convinced that something they want is not right according to their moral convictions. Yeah, I don't think I have moral convictions that are that strong. I have my convictions, but there is personal gain to be taken into account. While they may admire the brashness and roguishness of eights and their apparent ease in going after whatever they want, one's ultimately being drawn to the line, begin to draw a line if they see eights going too far in the pursuit of their self-interest. One can begin to regard eights as selfish, insensitive, aggressive, and morally corrupt. I don't know about morally corrupt, but the first three, like I definitely get a lot. Not a lot. I think I'm doing better, but it is something that historically has been associated with me. I mean, maybe like morally corrupt, because I do have my sense of morality. There are things that for me they're like indisputable. But there's a lot of other things that like I'm not so clear cut on them. Like I'm a little open to interpretation, you could say. They may admire the outlaw's bravado, but abhor where it leads them and how much chaos and destruction it creates in its wake. One can begin to see eights as crude, untrustworthy, and violent. On the other hand, eights sees ones as hypocrites who preach one thing publicly while doing the opposite privately. Yeah, that is the whole thing about hypocrisy. Like I can accept a certain level of hypocrisy in people, including myself, but there's kind of a line there. At a certain point it just becomes, very, because also like there's a lot of things that I think are considered hypocrisy. They're not really, because you can advocate for something in general and still think that on a personal level, like it's not really applicable. So like like you can think that one thing is right and still like not act right. You can still accept that you're acting wrong, and that is just kind of like how things are. So I don't think that be considered hypocrisy if you acknowledge that the way they're doing things is not right. Like you can't call it hypocrisy. But anyways, they see ones as rigid, self-righteous, nitpicking, and utterly unrealistic about the way the world works. Yeah, it's often wants to do more outrageous things just to provoke the morally judgmental ones into apoplexy. Both respond with anger before they will acknowledge hurt or fear. I will say I'd like to think that I'm doing better in regards to this. I'm allowing hurt and fear to be more into my life, which sounds probably bad, but it's actually really good because like those are the emotions that you really want to process. Anger is an emotion that rises, but ultimately, like for you have to disperse rage because it can be very counterproductive. And to do that, you have to dig down and see what exactly is happening, what is sprouting those emotions like the anger. They can both get into rigid positions and feel that they cannot back down. Violent arguments can often ensue as the relationship flies apart into personal attacks. This is one relationship that is much more difficult to fix once a certain threshold of abuse has been crossed. Yeah, I think just like most everything, like there is a threshold, like there is a line that once you cross, it's kind of hard to come back. But before that, there is a certain level of things, and also like it varies from person to person. I think what one person can see as like undeniable abuse, others can be just like, yeah, whatever, no, whatever, but can be like, okay, we can work with this, we can come back from this. So you just have to know the person in question, and also you have to be careful not to burn out, because I think that some people, and honestly I feel like historically, because for my needs to kind of like prove myself to be strong and competent, like I had put up with some shit that like I didn't really have to, because in my head I was like, if I don't put up with this, I'm being weak. And you don't have to. There are some things some lines that don't have to be crossed. You can kind of establish boundaries before that. So that I was welcoming, disregard and disrespect. It's just that it makes you feel like if you're able to put up with it, it makes you feel good about yourself and about your place in the world. You think that you're strong, basically. Okay, so like now type 2. So Enneagram type 2, the helper, with Enneagram type 8, the challenger. What each type brings to the relationship. These two types are more likely than they might appear to be at first. Both are action-oriented and want to have personal impact on their environment. Both can be sentimental and deeply feeling, with a subside that is often more hidden than apparent. Both can play the roles of provider, protector, caretaker, and nurturer while avoiding or even denying their own needs. Okay, that is the thing of denying my own needs is not really for me. Has never been. Maybe I'm too selfish for that, but it is what they're saying. Both tend to overwork themselves, and both tend to be the strong one in the relationships. Although choose tend to do so as power behind the throne, while Ace tend to be clearly the one on the throne. Yeah, I don't want to be the power behind the throne. Like I want the power behind the throne, but like not in it. But sometimes like we associate that with a certain level of submission, and like that I don't love. I want to be power on the front and on the back. Like it's possible. I know it's not, but that is thought to be had. Both types bring passion, vitality, interpersonal and social skills, magnanimity, and generosity. The basic emphasis of both types is distinctly different. However, with Jews being primarily interested in the welfare of others, while Aids tend to be interested in their physical well-being and having a distinct impact on the world, often beneficial for others. Yeah, I think that is an important distinction to make. Like, I'm concerned about well-being, but I don't think I'm concerned with myself first and foremost. And like I do have, as I said before, like certain ideas, certain takes on morality, and like I do defend them, but I don't know if I sacrifice myself for the greater good. This is something that I for example, watch movies and then it makes you think, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would, I would sacrifice myself for the end of everything and everyone. Like that I would do, because then like we're all gone, but everybody should keep on going after I'm gone. Like I do kind of like this where my head goes through a lot of times. Like I don't really care because it doesn't bother me. But just in the context of like sacrificing myself, like that is, yeah, that's quite something. They easily play roles that the other needs and wants. The Eights is practically concerned with results, whereas Jews are more people-oriented and more openly altruistic. Yeah, I don't know if I would consider myself altruistic. There's definitely things I depend, but in level 5-4, But like, do those things require sacrifice for myself? I think that right now, if I were to fight for some of those things, you could argue that it'd be a sacrifice. It'd be my mental health. I mean, that was happening before. It's just that I guess once I realized how bad it was for me, I took a step back. But yeah, I don't think anybody would call me altruistic. That is not one of. I mean, not that anybody would call me not altruistic, but I don't think that is one of like the main traits that like that you think of when you're thinking about me. Uh, they're both strong-willed and like taking on responsibility as long as they choose themselves. Yeah, that is an interesting point. It's often bask in the glow of choose affection and adoration. I'm not gonna lie, like I think that adoration is something that I have a weaker spot for, a soft spot for, more than I probably should. Um, but that's the thing. Like I don't get a lot of adoration uh, these days, and yeah. So it's a little bit more hypothetical right now. Jews truly appreciate the eight's strength and efforts and see their own hidden self-sacrifice. Both see each other's noble qualities and can be each other's staunchest supporters and admirers. Their roles are also clearly delineated, so they do not get in each other's ways. And that is important. Each runs different spheres of their social lives and cover different bases. One plays the symbolic mommy, and while the other plays the symbolic daddy, and these are clear and balanced. These are qualities that make the couple powerful allies who complement each other's strengths, particularly the good effects they can have on others. Not gonna lie, I'm reading this and I'm like, I don't know if this would be a good relationship for me for other reasons of my personality and the way my brain works. I think that this will get me kind of like complacent in this reality that I would be a little more independent. This will get probably gonna talk about some level of codependency here. Yeah, doesn't ring so much well. But I would say the thing they're talking about, like, silent self-sacrifice, is something that it does get me thinking, because while I don't think I am out there, trying to, be self-sacrificial. I'm not trying to be a martyr, like, that does not appeal to me. There is a certain element of that in the whole pursuit of strength. Like when you're trying to be strong, like putting up with things, as I mentioned in the first one, like it makes you feeling like you're kind of strong by putting up with things, and this can be like the element where self-sacrifice kind of like jumps in. Um, okay, so potential trauma spots or issues. Choose and eights have very different value systems, as noted above. Choose tends to be person oriented. Yeah, that's not me. Eights tends to be practical minded. Their interpersonal styles are also very different, with choose tends to be more empathetic and indirect, and eights being more direct and independent. Even average eights tends to become proud of their resolutely unsentimental way of dealing with people in situations, while average Jews become highly attached to people and over solicitous about their needs. Yeah, I definitely relate to the 8 here. I mean, in general, like, I'm supposed to relate to the 8, but in this one particularly, like, I see myself, yeah, even if I'm, like, being proud of, like, just being detached. I think I'm doing healthier than that now, but, the past still lingers. Jews tend to see things from the point of view of others, while eights do not. They see things from the point of view of self-interest, feeling that others need to learn to take care of themselves, lest they become weak and ineffectual. Thus, in a relationship, Jews and eights have very different ideas about where other people fit into their picture, including their own family. Both types tend to move in the opposite directions and have increasingly opposing views about how to treat other people. Eights become more hard-hearted and confrontational, while Jews become more possessive and self-sacrificial. Honestly, it's something very unhealthy that I'm about to say. I'm kind of like seeing this dynamic, and I'm like kind of attracted to it. So my husband being very possessive, self-sacrificial, this dynamic. There's something there. Maybe it's just like me to want to write about it, because they're also helpful for me writing, because you're kind of like creating these not stereotypes. That's not the word. These archetypes, and then you can kind of like fit your characters into them, and that gives you an interesting idea of like how things work. Anyways, so between themselves, they can get into battles with each other about whose philosophy will prevail. Rather than feel rejected or lose a key relationship, however, Jews can get caught in codependence relationships with an 8 The two can become an apologist for the eight's bad behavior, enabling them and thus encouraging eights to continue with antisocial, self-destructive habits. See, like, there is something appealing to this. So, like, improving your guess about is going to, like, okay, it's going to about, like, your worst behaviors. Thus, this couple might not break up as quickly as some other pairings would, although they can drag each other down without seeing their mutual threat. Ultimately, eights can lose respect for twos finding themselves then sincere and manipulative, while twos lose respect for eights thinking them to be cruel or domineering. Both can become coarser and more controlling if this continues, with overtones of stalking and paranoia, fears of betrayal, and acts of revenge. This is definitely something I would like to write about as opposed to like experiencing. I mean, this doesn't sound like something good at all, but this does sound like something fun to at least like write about, to perform, like not really live, but perform this. It will be fun. So we're type 3, the achiever, with type 8, the challenger. What each type brings to the relationship. These two types can form powerful and highly effective affiliations and can also have passionate and stimulating personal relationships. Both are assertive, both threes and eights go after what they want in life. Both can be larger than life figures who are outstanding in some ways, and because both stand out in their social circle. They cannot help but notice each other and come to terms with each other. Either an alliance forms that will enhance both parties, or a competition develops that will keep them apart. Surprisingly, eight's strength and solidity gives trees permission to be more heart-felt, and the eight feels reliable, and the trees seek safety to reveal their hearts. It's also like seeing trees use the opportunities and rise to the challenge they offer. On the other side, it helps eights relax once they see that the tree is competent and can also do things on their own. Moreover, both trees and eights are action-oriented, pragmatic, care about getting the job done, and willing to take the lead to achieve the goals. Okay, so far, the 8, the 1, the 2, and the 3, they're action-oriented. So, the next 4 have to be more, thought-oriented. Otherwise, it's just starting to feel like some bullshit. And are willing to take the lead to achieve their goals. They both have a marked degree of self-confidence, at least outwardly. They can be persuasive, and they can cut their losses and change goals when things are not working for them. I don't actually think that I can cut my losses and change. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm doing in college, right? I'm cutting my losses and moving on to something that makes a little bit more sense to me. So, should this make trees bring more awareness of others, a feeling of public relations, and for how to please people. They are more diplomatic and adaptable, both in their relationship with eights and with others. Eights bring forthrightness and expression, fearlessness, physical vigor, and determination to achieve their personal vision. They bring solidity, decisiveness, and the kind of strength that the more flexible tree gains confidence from. They want to be proud of each other and support each other's potential and accomplishments. They tend not to compete with each other, surprising both because both tend in general to be competitive with others. Yeah, I have been told my competitiveness is, a flaw before, and honestly, I cannot really deny that. I think that when, I think the first time that it came, became an actual conversation point for me was probably when I was like 18. And at that point, I didn't really see an issue with that. I was like, this is how things are going to work. But now, I can see how that got in the way at some points in my life, and how I'm, like, maybe it would be nice to have a relationship where you're not really competing. You don't feel like you're competing. And I will say that, like, in general, like, I've been able to look at the people in my life, the people who I hold dear, and I'm not really competing with them, particularly the ones who don't want, this competitiveness, because if you didn't have, like, a mutual thing going on, like, it's fine, but, like, you can't drag people into your shit. But yeah, anyway, so potential trouble spots or issues. Trees and eights can be effective in business world and in their professional careers, where energy, determination to succeed, and personal drive are necessary. But both types tend to be workaholics, putting themselves under tremendous stress in order to achieve their goals and to hang on to whatever success they have. This is the first time I'm seeing they talking about, the eights in the professional world, because more it feels like more this idealistic, thing of like making the world a better place, which, like, these two things are not mutually exclusive. But, like, I think it's more practical, for you to think about, your job, your work in this context. Under sufficient stress, they may stop supporting each other and compete to the other's achievements. To top the other's achievements. That is something that I honestly see myself and hopefully doing. You know, like that's something that I've done with myself, even, you know, like the fantasized version of myself, you know, just comparing and contrasting. And, you know, I can imagine that, you know, if you're close to somebody like that, you know, you would, I don't think that would be an exception. I see that happening. Achievements. With the two types, eights are more openly controlling than traits, although traits that will attempt to control situations covertly, which can arouse the eight's suspicions and lack of trust. Yeah, I better just do it more openly. Like, I don't mind doing it behind the scenes, but yeah, I think my style is more in the open. Uh, Once the trust is compromised, eights can become jealous and possessive, ordering the tree to do things to prove their personal loyalty to the eight. Trees may feel used and belittled, not adequately appreciated for their contributions or for their support of the eight. Eights begin to expect and demand loyalty, even obedience. For the patronage and guidance, trees begin to feel like they are losing their ability to pursue their own goals, that they become a appendage to the eight of the eight. In response to deteriorating conditions, both types can become manipulative and get what they want. Once they begin to do this with each other, trust and openness cannot be maintained. Moreover, neither trees nor eights are very skilled at talking about their real feelings or needs, nor do they feel comfortable being vulnerable. I will say, I do think that I have been able to increase my vulnerability the past few years, and I can talk about things, although I feel like in this context it's very hostile. Like, it is kind of hard, because I think that for most of my life, not for most of my life, but most of my life right now, I am in this kind of like nurturing and support environment. So like when you're like this, it's kind of easy for you to just, you know, place your needs and your, you know, desires upon people. As you know, if you're like very in this scenario, like I do think I would have a certain difficulty as well. Um, for both, isolation suspicion becomes the norm and can become difficult to break through. Eights may see trees as deceitful and trustworthy, trees may see eights as willful and vengeful, and they can bring being humiliated and co-opted for life. Eights ultimately want support for themselves and their vision. Trees want to be developing themselves and to be admired for their qualities. Battles over who is supporting whom result, whose agenda will prevail, and that's the very personal breakup may follow. Yeah, like this makes me not want to be in a relationship, to be completely honest, if it's going to be like this. Okay, let's go for 4. So 4 is the individualist, and Enneagram Type 8, the challenger. What each brings to the relationship. This can be one of the most creative relationship couplings, although it is also one of the most inherently volatile. Both Enneagram 4s and 8s are intense and have strong emotional responses. Both seek to get a reaction from the other, and both can be dominating of their environments. 8s are socially dominant, both are emotionally dominant. Ooh, which one do you want more? To be socially dominant or emotionally dominant? I think you want to be both, but you know, like I can say I can see the appeal of like the emotionally dominant one. Both types bring passion, intensity, and energy, and deep, often unconscious feelings to all aspects of the relationship. They are quite attracted to each other's stubbornness, the other's vulnerability, and the other's hidden qualities. Neither is what they seem to be on the surface. Both types are also very highly intuitive, forced by being self-aware and knowledgeable about how they are feeling, and eight with their intuition about external phenomena, often with an extremely accurate insight about the potentials and possibilities exhibited by others. This is an interesting one because I feel like I'm reading like more like me with myself. Think that maybe I am kind of like a mix of both of this. You know, it feels like this just two sides of me fighting. Because of their passionate natures, both types can become impulsive and reckless, taking extreme risk for love, for the love of truth, and for the sensation of being alive. And this can be tremendously exciting for to the other. Oh, this is an interesting one. Like I see myself in that. It feels like the two sides of my brain are kind of like fighting like that. Not fighting, but they're kind of like existing, and you're trying to see which one is going to, you know, be on top today. And in this particular regard, like everything is lit up. But there are trade-offs. 4 tend to depend on 8's practicality and ability to protect and provide for them, whereas 8 tend to depend on 4 sensitivity and mysterious sense of challenge. The 4's emotional life and heart may be one of the one world that the 8 cannot easily conquer. I kind of relate to the, because the 4 it is more about like, you know, being kind of like self-aware and feelings and being aware of like what you're feeling. And I like to think that I am, and my mental health professionals that I have dealt with throughout the years, they all say that I have a lot of like self-awareness, you know, that I can properly state what's going on in my head in a way that is easily understandable, and it's very helpful to the people trying to help me, because then they have a good idea, a good notion of like what's going on. On the other hand, forces strength, charisma, and solidity innate. Both feel that the other can meet their intensity, that the other will not be boring or non-responsive to them. They make each other feel more alive, something that both want. Intensity, vitality, passion, and immediacy, and are the emotional hallmarks of this couple. And they relate to each other and to others in the world from an unusually high emotional pitch. There's always something happening in their relationship, and they like it this way. I will say that does sound appealing to me. I get bored somewhat easily, but like I need stimuli, and if I don't have it, it is kind of like a problem for me. So this sounds exciting. This sounds fun. But it also feels like it's just like the situation in my brain, not just me with other people. Potential trouble spots or issues. Both types can take a certain pride in having a larger life quality about them. It's in their larger than life willpower and quest for control, forcing their larger than life emotions in their quest for self-expression. Why can control and self-expression walk hand in hand? Once again, it feels like an interesting mix of me. Okay, my laptop is about to. I'm gonna finish this one and I'm gonna end this because laptop is about to go there. Should turn down. Should turn off. Both types want to be free and to feel free from having anyone control them, particularly in their careers and private lives. Okay, I relate to this. If they feel that the other is trying to control them, both types can become enraged, easily triggering their control by financial and sexual intrigues and rampant feelings of hatred. Both fortunates are emotionally stormy and prone to periods of rage, depression, vengeance, and various forms of acting out. This is calling me out. When conflicts between them reach a certain pitch, arguing replaces a real connection, and fighting and possible physical violence, oh wow, becomes an increasingly common element of their communication, with the violence often running both ways. They can also begin to get into the practice of hiding and making up, because both are more exciting that way. Kind of not gonna lie, there's a little something to this. They can also begin to punish each other by withholding attention and affection, and by verbally putting the other down, often in public. Ooh, this also low-key sounds like me. And this low-key sounds exciting. Oh, yeah, like not, as I said, not necessarily something I want in my life, but like the acting of it, the writing of it, there is a certain appeal to it. No couple is more passionate than the 4-8 combination, nor is any couple more likely to deteriorate into verbal and physical abuse and various kinds of personal retaliation for escalating offenses. They also tend to draw their friends and family into their conflicts, trying to make others choose sides. I don't know the whole thing about you. Yeah, I kind of like choosing sides. It's a part of it. But I will say that there is something here, as I said. There's something cathartic about, this deterioration I feel. I think that it makes you feel better in a certain way, like not in the long run, but in the short term. They may get into the feeling that they are not able to stop themselves from hurting each other as much as a part of them would like to quiet down and become more normal. The passionate attraction that they have for each other can end in obsession and hurtful, ruinous, impulsive actions. Yeah, like very fun to write about. I would like to write. Okay, so I'm gonna end this just short of like number 5, which is the other personality type that I'm the most common with. That might be the number 1, actually. Although like I got like an equal percentage of comfortability with both of this. So I'm going to keep on going that I have both of them. So anyways, bye.